I played cricket for my school. I played basketball for my school. You know, I love sports, so I was involved in a lot of sports because of that. But it came from my young and doing this. So if we understand how to fill these buckets, and even at the older ages afterwards, then we know that we need to work. So to fill these buckets back, and I'll share a diagram after, to fill these buckets back, you could only get it to a certain level if it was missed out in your growing up. And that's the reality of it. So let's look at player A and player B. And tell me what sport you might choose the player A or player B for. So player A is this. This is the bucket for speed. So this is your bucket. 2 buckets. And in my life, now 20 or whatever, my speed bucket is this level. My strength bucket is that level. My endurance is that. My power is that. And up here is flexibility. That's my bucket for player A. My bucket for player B, my speed level is here. My strength is there. My endurance is there. My power is there. And my flexibility is here. What it says is, my bucket for speed for player A, this is the level it's at. So you can only develop my speed to this height of my bucket. Now, granted, if you don't touch on speed for me, my bucket of speed will drop. But when you do touch on it, I can only reach this level of speed, whether it be 40%, 20% of the whole chart. This is it. Player A, what sport do you think player A could be successful in, and what sport do you think player B will be successful in, or could be? Based on your buckets. That's all your buckets will fill. Yeah.
Player A could be a sprinter, and player B could be a long distance runner.
Okay. Anybody else?
Player A is a power lifter.
Player A is a power lifter. Okay.
Yeah.
And player B?
Player B could be a rugger.
A rubber does run plenty.
A rugger.
A rugby player. Oh. Okay. We have a rugby player inside. I think we have Mr. Lewis
Miss Thomas.
inside with us.
Miss Thomas is a rugby
And Miss
player.
Thomas. Is that the bucket that you will be filling if you're training your athletes? How will you fill your buckets? What would you focus more on?
For 15s, yes.
So player B will be the rugby player? Or player A?
15s rugby. B.
Player B is rugby. Player B is rugby. Any footballer here? Any footballers will this bucket, or we're not in a footballer bucket here?
Yeah.
Oh?
That's the thing I want to ask. Right? Because you might not be fortunate to have multiple discipline where this athlete come to you, and so you are going to be sending them on to powerlifting, or you're going to send them on to rugby and all of that. You get this athlete as a track and field athlete, and this is the bucket that they are in. So the discipline that you are going to put them in is going to be predisposing the bucket that they are at. And it is therefore for you, the coach, to let the athlete understand as best as possible that this is what you're best at this stage, and communicating that with the parent. Because I can't tell them I get a power lifter, so go and join a gym and go and do something because we don't have any avenue for them to be doing any powerlifting for competitive sports. We're not doing any lifting in the Olympics or World Championship. So therefore, where am I going to put him? Am I going to put him in the shot put? Am I going to put him in the discus? That sort of thing. Where am I going to put him?
Well, it
or
comes back
her.
down to understanding the buckets that relate to the different disciplines, and which one will
Actually,
therefore fit that profile of, hey, okay, this is what I'm
the
just saying.
for the football, you're saying for the buckets, they could use both player A and player B for football. Like, same as rugby,
Maybe different
because
positions, or
yeah, different positions. But
okay.
also too, even if you're watching the for buckets, for bucket types, you gotta watch body type also too.
Mhm.
Because the
Yeah.
body type is also deals with the types of it's a for bucket, so it's really bucket type. Because some people might be uh what do you say, ectomorph and mesomorph and
Right. So you look at the
mesomorph.
sum type. You look at the sum type of the body, and therefore trying to equate
Yeah,
that to
yeah, you
what.
can put on positions and also too.
Well,
So,
understandable,
yeah.
and yeah, that's
Yeah,
a fact.
because when you look at our system not going to 90% of the students that we are getting in our secondary school, if you look at the secondary level,
Right.
would have passed all of those buckets, most of the buckets, without any form of development because of the education system and how we place emphasis.
So then we come back to
So
talent ID.
exactly, so it is now to develop that athlete at the place that they are at and be able to communicate to the parent and to the athlete that in getting them to be their best requires time for development
But then
because a
that
lot of
who has to lead,
the
who
system
has to
have to
do that
be
talent ID, and
rechanged.
they have to be qualified to understand that talent ID, that identification of what sport is best suited for you based on X, Y, and Z. We need
Yeah,
to have that.
and
Yes, but
Yeah.
this also identifies the importance of testing and
Mhm.
testing systematically, because if this here was an initial test, meaning that the athlete came into the club, whatever the environment, and you
Right.
administered a test and you got this, even though I said, for example, powerlifting and so on, but powerlifting in track and field would therefore translate, let's say, to a shot putter
Mhm.
versus a
Correct. Right.
discus thrower. However,
Mhm.
you also would have been noting in the athlete's profile the
Mhm.
development and chronological ages to know if you can therefore push. So for example, let's say that he was, so he's looking like a field type athlete at this moment or whatever.
Mhm.
But based on the fact that you would also want to expose them to, let's say, not only shot put, but discus or hammer, which requires far more flexibility, then based on the development and chronological ages, you know if you have time or ability to do that. Because if this person came in at age 17, well, I have missed the flexibility window, or I missed some windows,
Right.
and it would be very difficult to improve flexibility much more than this level that the person is
Mhm.
at. But if this person came in closer to the where you could train flexibility, let's say, then you know you have some time on your hand, and you know that the flexibility window can open up much more, and hence this is a potential really elite athlete because they have come in or you've caught them at the right
Right.
development in terms of the LTAD markers and the age markers, and
Right.
you've taken a few more things into account. So it requires the coach to have a system, coming back to my original point, that emphasizes systematic testing, not just tests once
Yeah.
and you're done, but testing, especially the start, you institute your program, you retest, and so on. And of course, knowledge of the other things that we're talking about.
Yeah. Correct.
To follow up on the point, Anthony,
Yeah.
about systematic testing, I remember this way back, so it's just story time kind of thing. So two guys came into the cycle club that I was in at the time. And one was a real skinny guy, couldn't have been more than 150 pounds, probably about 6 foot tall, probably taller. And they kept telling him that he was an endurance rider, and he is an endurance rider, and he had absolutely zero endurance. And the first time he got tested properly, it turned out that he was just a skinny guy with a lot of fast twitch muscles.
Right.
And it was just that somebody or his coach at the time, and he had gone through maybe 4 or 5 years of cycling by the time he got properly tested. Nobody had thought that, okay, maybe this guy is just a skinny guy with fast twitch muscles.
Right.
So everybody kept saying, well, we should make him an endurance. He has it, and he was just not good at it.
Right.
And then when he switched, actually, interestingly enough, Nico Paul, who I don't know if all of you all know, who is right. When Nico first started, they put him as an endurance rider, and he was doing a couple of training, like in that vein. And then he went to a coach, and the coach said, Chris, he was just doing so badly, so I just decided I'll test him for just speed and give him what we call a standing jump test. And his numbers were off the mark. And at that point, the coach switched him almost immediately to being a sprinter. I suppose the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. So there's where testing comes so important to at least test the athlete, to know at least a base. And these are good stories that we could put into play. I can tell you for me, after this COVID dilemma, my first day of training will be tested, because the time down has been for a while, and I'm going to test my athletes as soon as they come out. And then we're going to start from a base from there and then work towards, at least we know if what you were doing at home, that the programs you're doing was successful or not, and how we go forward. And then 2 weeks, every 2 to 3 weeks, I will do my testing again, just to make sure that we're on track for what we want. So yeah, I think, and sometimes as coaches, we go with what we have, and testing for us is at the competition. And sometimes by then it's too late, based on the result that they get. But you could actually predict that result if you do your testing in between. So yeah, good stuff. So yeah, this is just a little example as to the buckets. And everything has buckets that these athletes, and some we can improve, and sometimes we can only improve so far, and therefore use the athlete to suit from there on in. So active stretching is important. Holding muscle group 15 to 20 seconds by using the athlete's own muscle forces. This is also important at the end of training, that the athlete should at least engage in some sort of stretching. Static or dynamic. Static stretches should precede dynamic. Therefore, passive stretching, the aid of a partner, etc., external force, a wall, whatever situation. The muscle is held at its maximum length for an extended period of time in order to achieve the desired stretch. And they give page 81 where there's some examples in your manual that you could actually look at. So, warm up and cool down, not warm up and warm down, some coaches say. Please use the right terms. So it's a warm up and a cool down. You don't warm down. Right? The warm up and cool down is an important part of the exercise. You understand this. Prepare the body for training, reduce the chance of injuries. So it's important that these athletes, however young or old, they must engage in this warm-up and cool-down towards the body after exercise, etc. Again, we can look at page 82 for some extra tips and stuff on this. Obviously, some of the benefits of it increases flexibility, rapid recovery, relaxation, reduces likelihood of injuries. So it's important that we do that. Sometimes we cool down. Some people might do it if they have the ability. We do ice baths a lot at the end of training. I do train hard, and my athletes normally will request it, whether we do foam rolls before we begin training, and sometimes then do that ice bath, etc. at the end. It's just different things to help with recovery and stuff like that. So there we go, modules 3 and modules 4, and we are over with that. In your workbook, again, take a look at it. Any questions or whatever you need to ask me, feel free. You guys have my email and my phone number as well. There's a multiple choice question here on 4A about the energy systems and the 5 skeletal, etc. And you would therefore have to answer that and a multiple choice kind of stuff like this. Any questions? Anything anybody want to add or say? I think it was nice and interactive with you guys. Sharing experiences and stuff.
Anthony.
Yeah,
Hello, Anthony.
give me one second. Let me just stop sharing. Yes.
Okay, you talk about your email and your phone number. That was on a document or something?
That was yesterday.
Actually, I said it yesterday, right? And I did send it on the chat as well. Where I gave you on my I gave you on my check back on the chat. But if anything, I mean, I can give it to you now. I'll send it again on the chat so you can have it. So my email.
Mr. Marcano.
Yes.
You said something earlier on about some people fail that part. In the requirement to pass this course, do you have sometimes some people do it like this? Do you have to pass all parts to pass, or is it just an overall?
It's an all parts to pass. It's not an 80% pass rate. It's all parts to pass.
Meaning you have to pass all parts.
All sections. All sections, because each section is by themselves. Yeah.
Okay.
So you got to complete the section 100%. As I said, remember, it's an open book exam. It's not an exam where you could, it's an open book exam. You have the manual with all the answers already. So you have your book, you sit down with your book, you do your stuff. You add whatever parts is necessary. I try to make it as real as possible for you to understand. I try to focus on, you need to focus on this. Focus on this. And therefore, when you're doing your reading, that you stay focused on what, the things that I'm telling you so that you can answer the questions correctly. I kind of spend more time on certain things to try and get you to understand a little better as to what is needed. But yeah, you got to pass all your sections. There's no half pass in it. Sorry. It's all in your own words at the end of the day. Once you stay within the context of what is being asked, it's not a difficult. You all are coaches. You all do some sort of coaching. Some might be, more experienced than some, and that's okay. But it's all about you. There are some things that you must stay in line with. So it's about how you coach, how you plan your training. If it is that you're not doing it now, then maybe you should start doing it. Maybe you should start putting that structure in place. So these are the things that you will be looking at.
And basically.
Sorry?
Just one more point, because the manual, we are answering based on the manual. I'm saying that because the manual is from 2012, and as you know, there are some things that have adjusted in theory and practice since then. So basically what you are reminding us is to just what in the manual is basically what you require to come back, if you understand what I'm saying.
If what you write is comparable to what is being asked, whether it is on something that might have been a paper that might have been written or some study that might have been done, I think it will still fall in context to your answers. Now, there are certain things about the way of how you plan your sessions and how you do your sessions. I think that is a standard thing that we can do. Everybody have their own way, but we're trying to put some sort of basic structure into how you do it. Not necessarily that you have to do A, B, C, but once the format or the structure remains or the content remains within what we're asking, then I'm okay with that. I'm not saying word for word to pick on the book. I'm saying that at least must pick certain parts. So if as we ask you a certain question about, okay, what might be your acronym for preparing a program or artist profile, what would you put? And let's just say you leave out the name, then obviously that's not a proper artist profile. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that in your artist profile, if you want to put dentistry and you want to put that up to you, that's not a problem. That's your artist profile. But there are certain elements that must be there. And there's nothing that you can do about that. If you're not putting a name or you're not putting an address or you're not putting a phone number, then how are you going to contact your artist or whatever the situation may be? So, I understand what you're saying, but you must stay within the context. I'm not sure if I'm clearing that up.
Only when we start the exercise, we will actually know with how far we could drift or not, according to what you said, because basically it comes back to a basic framework. Some of us may do other additional things, but I guess you're looking for the basic framework, and as a result, the manual would be our first point of reference. That's what
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
I think the format that it's in is trying to help us as coaches to be more organized, and not necessarily that what we're doing is correct. And if we kind of look at it and maybe be honest to ourselves, and that's between you and your time that you're doing your work, and say, yeah, I really don't do this, and I don't think it's important, but maybe it is. Maybe I could try it. Maybe let's see if it works or it doesn't work, and then make adjustment on that, as opposed to say, well, this is how I do it, and I don't see the need of doing it that way. This is what I just do. And I don't want it to be in that kind of vein, and at least try to help learn again, and just try something different and see how it goes. So I hear what you're saying, but yes, try to stay within what it is that you're doing. You could, as I say, once you stay within context, I'm okay.
All right. So kind of
Yes.
what I wanted to find out is that I didn't hear anything about when you start before a session, like a training session or even an event. So it compares to energy levels, to keeping your energy or to fuel your energy, what you eat, like diet and stuff. So it's
Well,
like
we
when
have a
you
nutritional section coming up later with Gina, who could answer all those questions. Now, I could tell you what it is, and I could tell you, and I'm sure Mr. Gill could more than tell you what cyclists tend to do a lot on what they eat and what they produce. And
yeah, because that's like children or even adults do those things.
Yeah, no, I
don't eat those doubles before.
I would leave that.
A double before the thing.
A cork.
A double before the start.
And a soft drink.
Yeah. That's all drink and stuff.
But I'm going to leave that section for you to hit Gina with. Gina will give you a lot of answers on that. These are the questions that you could push towards us to what is necessary to eat prior, whatever. For us in hockey, we tend to eat a lot of pasta and carbs and whatever. And then during training, we try to always hit a little bit in between as well. So whether it be a granola bar, a piece of granola bar in between training, just to keep the energy levels up and stuff like that in the system. But feel free to ask Gina on the different ages and what is expected, and if you could get the parent to provide that. Because remember, sometimes find that eating properly is expensive. So you got to take that into consideration as well. So all those things, I'm sure Gina will answer all those things. That's a good question to keep. Keep that question and really hit her with it. I think she'll be happy to answer you. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Anything else? Anybody else?
Yeah, Peter here. Yeah, I'm going back to testing. And I want to delve into it a little more. We're testing for endurance, strength, power, flexibility.
Right.
But I'm looking for research, especially in light of the COVID thing that you're saying. We all would have to move back and test all our athletes who have been down for a while. Are there tests specific to track and field? Are there tests specific to hockey? And if so, where can I get that kind of information?
Okay, if you want to test for speed, there's tests for speed. In that instance, for me, I use a normal, just a 10-meter sprint. I use the sprints because how my game is done. Change the direction and stuff, but each sport will have elements that you would need to test also. Maybe in discuss, let's just say you need to test for strength. How do I test for strength? Maybe push-up test. I don't know. A power test, maybe as one of the coaches indicated, a broad jump. I test that by knowing that kind of thing. So it's not necessarily specific, but relevant to what it is that you're doing. So I have other track coaches on board as well. I'm not sure if they want to tap in and help Mr. Peters as to what tests we could possibly do for track and field. And if you could share that with him, it would be nice. But I suppose each discipline will have its different testing for track and field. You guys have a lot of events now, Anybody from track and field like to tap in and help? Marshall Mark, anybody? Marshall Mark is also a coach.
Mr. Peters, there are loads and loads of tests. I'll try and see if I could put my hand on where that is located. Because just if you think about flexibility, even within that realm, there are tests for joint-specific flexibility, for overall flexibility. So it's basically to take from the range of tests and look at what equipment you have and what specifically you want to test based on what the athlete presents. So as I said, I'll try to see if I could locate a physical resource for that, because a lot of that is in my head.
You could simply do a sit and reach test for flexibility.
A sit and reach test, yeah, but you have other ones when you're testing, let's say, for example, as simple as something as hamstring flexibility and so on, because sometimes you have to go even deeper into that. And I'm speaking from the perspective of being a sports therapist as well. So you have loads tests that can be done. And yes, it's documented in many places. So I'll try and see if I could locate that for you soon. Not tomorrow, but yeah.
Okay, great. So we have a resource of coaches getting together and doing that. So that's a good thing.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Anthony? Yeah, Ian here, Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I particularly enjoy the part where you spoke about the development of various systems at various ages in the athlete, which refers back to what you know as the long-term development program.
Yes.
What I recall clearly is a lot of times we like to we compare what exists now in terms of what the athletes that come to coaches now and what existed before. And we like to say that persons before had natural talent.
Yeah.
When in truth and in fact, as you said, the games we used to play long were unconscious systems of development of certain areas of our systems. So a simple game as jacks, where the athlete has to jump and stoop and pick up the jacks and bounce the ball, develop the muscles in the legs. A simple game as scooch, develop that flexibility. And that's why all fast bowlers or cricketers in the era of West Indies were able to bat without helmets and get out of the way because of the games we used to play long time that developed those systems unconsciously. Now we find that the children are not playing those games. We now have to systematically develop those things.
Yeah. And as I say, the LTAD model tends to give you the chronological development age and taking you through those stages and stuff like that. What I try to do is to do LTAD on the physicality side as well to match what they're going to try to, what Keon is going to try to, get you to understand about peak height velocities and how we could use peak height velocities to calculate developmental age, and then from developmental age to create an offset age where we could actually know if a 14-year-old is in your session or a 10-year-old is in your session, his peak height velocity might be at a different age, and therefore you have a bucket to work between what his developmental age is, and therefore know exactly what to train him. That's a whole different course that if Ms. Annette is still online, that's a whole different aspect towards development of the athlete, physicality-wise, based on age, and not necessarily just the LTAD model and creating drills to suit that. We must also match the physicality to suit that age along with the drills. So that's something totally different. But yes, you're quite right there. That LTAD is very important, so pay attention to it. Yeah. Anything else?
Mr. Makano, one
No?
thing for me,
Yes.
please.
No?
What stood out to me the most is the concepts of a movement and how we take it for granted that we could say something to a child, an athlete, and assume that they understand it, but we don't fully put into concept how we should actually go through it point by point. That's something that I noticed from what you said that I need to work on.
Right. It's a skill to develop as coaches, and it comes with more experience as the more you coach and the more you understand. But yeah, it puts you in a sort of saying, do I really know this skill or not? I had my challenges as well, so actually, that's good. Thank you very much for your for that comment as well. Any other feedback before Lauren takes over, closes the meeting? Or Ms. Annette will have a few words to say before we close off today's meeting as well. Maria is still there laughing at me. But I don't know.
Yeah. Hi, Anthony. Hi, everybody. Well done again. I've been writing my little notes in between, so I am here and I have been listening very carefully and thinking of my days of coaching. But also as an administrator, it is very important to understand the coaches, because too often administrators take certain things for granted, possibly don't give enough support to the coaches in how we structure things, i.e. in terms of what is available for the coaches, in terms of selection, the talent ID, etc. And so therefore, some knowledge for the administrators is also very good. I came from a coaching background, so this is all just good for me, renewing interest, etc. But not all administrators come from coaching background. Important for coaching development in every sport and even at the community level. So while we were asking questions, I thought that if LTAD, which is so important, if we need to extend it to a 3-day session online on LTAD, I would be quite happy to. We could possibly get Kabir, who works for Sport for Life in Canada. Maybe we could also get him to pop in on the webinar, etc. So let's talk about that afterwards, Anthony, after the course.
Yeah.
And if we feel that we need to do some more, I'm sure everybody, we're locked down for another month. We surely could come back and do 3 more mornings. It's been very good. And what I'm wanting just to emphasize is that we want to test you. We need you to be pretty straightforward and honest with us. So it's the popping in and out, the not getting the required hours. We just have to ask you to try and make sure that you get the hours in, because if you don't do the hours, it seems really unfair just to hand in your workbook. And some people have stayed with us all the way through and others haven't. So it's just like all the policies now. You just have to be smart about it, and really we just hope that that you'll be honest and staying with us for the hours. At the end of the day, the interaction that has happened is really what gives you the information. Hearing from Camille, hearing from Chris, hearing from some of the coaches who haven't got the same experience, but understanding what they will want, what information they will need. Bridget has vast experience as a netball coach, and this is where the importance of spending time online will benefit you as a coach. Yes, I could get a work paper. Yes, I could pass, but the reality is at the end of the day, you want to be a good coach. And so at the community level, right up to the elite level, I think that there's lots to benefit from being here for the period. It's just 3 hours. So I appeal to you to stay with us. And Anthony, well done again. Kept me occupied for the 3 hours. So that's great. Thank you.
Ms. Nutt.
Yes, my darling.
While I can make this plug, yes, I understand the LTAD focus, but I really think that just before, if we could have a pre-session on talent identification in terms of creating a system to do so, because we have a lot of instances where there are square pegs and round holes, or we have a lot of instances where a lot of talent, like the not starch mango, but long mango, is going to waste below the tree, just rotting away. And I think if we have that discussion and then go into the LTAD to to you know, break it out further, that might be more useful in terms of developing an actual template system, because it's done really well in other countries, and we really have a lot of talent that is going to waste. And helping us too, maybe being less greedy, because we may, let's say the athlete A and B, where we got what really seems to be a power lifter, but we, because of how we work, we would not even consider that. We might try to force athlete A into something within our system when that mightn't actually be the best thing for that particular athlete. So if we could do that, and then you know, you're talking about extra 3 days. If we could do something on talent identification systematically.
Hello, I would like to address two things with Ms.
Camille, I
Renwick
totally agree
and
with
Ms.
you.
Bennett.
In terms, yeah,
Hello.
yeah. All right, you go ahead first, and then I'll respond.
Okay, Ms. Anna, I am the administrator with regard to entry A, and you are correct with regard that some administrators do not have an idea with regard to some of the demands, as well as some of the factors that you all consider when it comes to training, as well as how you all will actually coach. From the administrator point of view as well, we do have issues whereby we will look into a book to get the information, and we will be of the view that some of the terms that we will put into a form or try our best to interpret, that some coaches are familiar, when in fact they are not. And I am speaking from my experience with regard to the YEP program, whereby I was developing a coaching reporting form, and in speaking with another coach, Ms. Michelle Allen Penny, our discussion revolved around whereby I will understand through the textbook what the term will mean, but the coach on the ground will be actually doing the work, putting in the training, informing the athlete, but not using that same term. So the information, therefore, even though it may be similar, the way how we are interpreting the information from the administrator side and the coach side, it's totally different. And the administrator may be of the view that the coach doesn't know what they're doing, where in fact they do know what they're doing, but they do not know the terms. So that is where I believe some of the miscommunication is happening, and administrators therefore need to be involved in some of these programs to get an idea what coaches are doing and the way they are doing it. One of the persons already stated with regard to the old-time sports that was played. So coaches know what they're doing. They may not be doing it via the textbook, where the administrator may be going to find that information. So that's one of the points I wanted to touch on there. Ms. Renwick, you indicated something about a precursor prior to LTAD. Can you go in a little more on that? Thanks.
All I said is that talent identification, the ability to look at someone walking around the place, and you say, well, whoa, this person has all the markers for this, that, the other, etc., etc. You look at their movements, you may be observing them doing something, and you're able to quickly pinpoint a sport, or even within a sport, a sub-discipline that this person would be truly exceptional at. Not everybody is able to do that, because you have to be aware of some of the things that you look for. It's a systematic process. So the bigger countries, they actually have specific a system of placing people in the correct sporting buckets, for want of a better word. And if more of us get a little bit on that, it would help us, even within our sport, to put them in the correct place. So for example, there's a difference between a shot put discus person and a discus javelin person, or a discus, putting the person into these. So you have the four field throws, and there's a specific thing, some specific things that you look at to place them shot discuss versus, let's say, discuss hammer or something like that. So there's things you look for to do that. Now, some of us, unfortunately, because of how we are in Trinidad with resources, we don't have, let's say we don't have any hammer equipment, we don't have any javelin equipment. All we have is just a few shot puts, maybe a discus or two, so automatically everybody gets fed into, you're looking big, right? So because you're looking big, let's just go into shot or discuss, because that's all we have and that's what we need. Versus saying, well, this person is actually well suited to a hammer, and I can't do that, but Club X, Mr. Coach so-and-so in so-and-so club actually does that, and I think it's going to be a better fit if you look at doing hammer instead of just thing, because you really will, it looks like you're actually going to be excellent at that. But I say, no, this is all I have, or I want you, or I want more. But if we have that extra skill, it will help Trinidad and Tobago immensely. Not just me, Club A, who don't have that expertise.
Camille, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Saying, Camille,
Ms. Renwick,
I understand what you're saying.
What?
About the, oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
No, I understand what she's saying, because with regard to all the 5 throws that exist in Trinidad and Tobago, one, we do not have the sporting equipment. One, some of the facilities, especially with regard to the throws, are only situated in certain areas as well. And even among coaches, there is an intensity with some coaches to state, this is my athlete and I don't want to send them to another club, although there is potential for that athlete to actually be better at another event or with another coach. So I think this situation that you're referring to maybe have to be dealt with at the club level and with coaches, whereby you have to put the needs of the athlete first, instead of sometimes the coach is just looking for praises that I can coach this or I can coach that. Therefore, the need of the athlete, in my view, should be there. Go ahead, Annette.
If I could suggest.
So I just wanted, I'm just going to sum up, because I don't, other people may want to speak. In terms of what I was talking about in extra courses, long-term athlete development, if we started to really delve into coaching, we could be online for the rest of the year, because there's so many different aspects of coaching that we could start and use as. But long-term athlete development, where the real importance comes in, is what Denzel has said in his chat. It's the physical literacy.
Yeah, that's
if
right.
we don't get the physical literacy right from now, we won't have athletes to choose talent from in the next 5 or 10 years. The whole lifestyles that we changed, that everybody's been talking about, what we took for granted, all of that has changed. We don't walk from school, etc., etc. So now we have to place some emphasis on long-term athlete development, and as we delve into it, most important, literacy, because this is where our young primary school children are lacking. And my gosh, I don't know if within this last 6 months, how many of them have been able to run around, etc. So extra work on the long-term athlete development was more generally to look at things like the physical literacy, the testing, the things you can do with physical literacy. So that's why I mentioned perhaps at the end of the course, we could look specifically at areas where we feel that a one-day session with an expert coming in might give us additional information, or where we could have a chat, or as I said, maybe with somebody who has done work with physical literacy, has no problem coming in and chatting with us. what I suggest is keep making your notes on where you feel that perhaps in your field, so community coaches, physical literacy might be much more important than the terms of talent ID, etc. So in your specific area, have a look, see where you think that we could perhaps help as the TTOC in facilitating you with perhaps some more knowledge. And that's what we'd be looking for at the end of it. As I said, with coaching, I mean, we all could see, we could be on this for days and days and chatting days and days about it. So let's just make some notes on it and let's talk about it at the end of the week. So that's me done. Thank you, Anthony. Great job again.
Thank you, Annette. Very good conversations, very good input, and things that we could look forward to. And as Annette saying, please, let us know so we could always tailor something for coaches. This is what it's about. We know that we have a gap. I think you also know that we have a gap somewhere. We need gaps to be filled. And the only way we could do it is by doing these nice things that you guys are saying, whether it is about talent ID, whether it is about physical literacy. Talent ID is a very broad and big area. There's a lot of things to do in talent ID. And talent ID actually comes through LTAD in the sense of even if you have to do anthropometric measurements from when they were young, and in height, arm span, leg length, all the different things that we need to measure. We're talking about skin folds, whether it's 3-fold, 4-fold, 7-fold, 6-fold. You got to decide how you do that, and all that is development coming out of anthropometric. That was my project in the CCCP that I did, which was anthropometric measurements. So I can tell you a lot about that part of it during anthropometry, and actually linking that now into the physical aspects of this person growing up with LTAD and developmental age and chronological age, etc., etc. So it's a lot of things in talent ID, not just standing up and watching somebody and say, hey, you look good for that. It didn't happen that way. You're looking at genes, you're looking at parents, you're looking at grandparents. There's a lot of things that you look at with this athlete before just studying that talent ID. So that's a very long, that's not a 3 day, as Annette is saying. It's a very long process of doing it, and it starts from the younger ages coming up and keeping track. Monitoring and evaluation is one of our downfalls, and that's where we need people to assist in that monitoring and evaluation, but it comes from proper documentation, athlete profiles, etc., etc., etc. So it's a big chunk, but hopefully we'll get there one step at a time. See how that goes. Lauren, off to you. Thank you everybody for being here today and making that effort to be at this course. I hope it still stays interesting. Tomorrow we on again. Keon just messaged and said he will be on tomorrow, so he will be on from 9:30. I will do the first session with module 5, and then we will take Keon in with his with LTAD, and therefore all these questions you're able to ask during that period of time. And I will just start you off in the morning, and then he will take over from there. So again, thank you very much. Keep safe as everybody's saying, and hopefully tomorrow we on again at 8 o'clock, on time. Lauren, all yours.
Okay, thank you, Anthony, and thank you everyone for a good session again. If anyone is missing any documents, let me know. A couple of people contacted me on the chat, but feel free to contact me by email. If there's any administrative issues or questions that you're having, feel free to contact me anytime. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Please God.
Mr. Peters, just so you know, I got your email, but I think Camille will deal with it, so therefore I wouldn't respond to your email at this point. Is that okay? But I know Camille said that she will send you some stuff. So
yeah, that's okay.
Okay, fine. All right, great. All right, everyone. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.
All right. Blessings, everyone.